Thank you so much for the conversation, man. And I gotta give you the holy shit that was a series.
Yeah.
If there is like any series that I've seen, that could kind of be up there in terms of like craziness, this one was definitely up there. And very glad that you guys were able to come out of it on top, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad too. I would have been fucking livid if we lost that series.
No, no, for sure. I mean, definitely. Like, I mean, obviously it's understandable since this is like literally a winner take all kind of game, man. Yeah, like I mean, it was one in which you guys definitely had to like kind of like come at this with all of your energy, and you're just gonna do it like this. No introduction needed. You're just gonna get into it like this right now, and like with the team like Evil Geniuses and it being so of a dangerous opponent, with their hot form. What was the trickiness? What was the preparation like for you guys in terms of just trying to tackle them on up front?
I'd say just focusing on the individuals on their team. They don't play the most complex Valorant as like a team, like calling wise, but they do have individuals and they set up their individuals pretty well. So it was more so shutting them down and making sure that they don't have a chance to like take over rounds.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I've got the sense of like how they usually play their matches in terms of all of the various interviews that I've done with them, and in my understanding, it's like they play a much more coordinated type of game in which you don't have like one player just kind of veering off from the rest of the pack. It's the pack that kind of works in unison, and then they come at you guys all at once. Did you see that kind of approach, and did you see like the difficulty behind facing off against that kind of approach from that EG squad?
Um, to be honest, I think that we weren't really worried about their pack. It's mainly just the one or the two that aren't a part of the pack. So that's what we really focused on. Making sure that they don't like have a chance to just, like I said, like take over a round. That's what more like. It doesn't even have to be in terms of frags. It's just more so like they're in control. Like we don't want to give them control of the round or the situation. So always being the ones that are like taking the lead, kind of.
Well, you said those two. May I just take a guess as to who they are? Were they Yay and Icy?
No, it is Superman. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, both these players very rich in firepower, and obviously they
yeah.
put up a huge threat to you guys. I mean, nothing else could be kind of like can kind of like describe the tone of this match of how it would go down in Lotus, in which up until this point you guys have been mostly been undefeated 9-0, and EG gave you that first loss today in that series. And so I want to ask you sort of like what was the difficulty in terms of just trying to start off the match on the right foot, having to play in Lotus, having that confidence that you guys will be able to play well on Lotus, and then suffering that defeat. How do you kind of view the first part of that series?
I mean, it may be weird to say, but even after losing, I feel like our Lotus is still the best in the world, and I think that we just made individual mistakes, myself included, like a lot. And they play a very weird comp, and they play a very weird style. So like, we were overthinking it a bit, but I think that we are still the best on that map, and I think that we just kind of today didn't play how we play.
Josh RT did a quick interview in between the maps, more specifically after Lotus, I believe, in which he kind of described how this team was discoordinated and discombobulated. These kinds of things, especially during that second half of that map. Did you kind of feel like the team was kind of like all over the place during that second half slash time frame?
Um, yeah, I mean, definitely. Like I said, like myself included, I made a lot of like stupid errors and like too fast. Like too impatient, basically. And there were other scenarios where we just didn't really have awareness of what others were doing or like what they were doing when we should have, and it led to us losing kills, which led to us losing rounds, which led to them just getting a more and more like snowbally kind of half.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, you guys took this and moved on from it, and then moved into maps 2 and 3, and ultimately won those two final maps of the series. And like, I mean, I kind of now want to fast forward again over to Pearl. I mean, there were two rounds that I feel like decided this series. And obviously, I'm looking at round 17, in which Josh RT called that timeout. You guys were your economy was basically crap, and so he basically said like, okay, guys, let's go for the push, let's go for the force, and we'll do our strategy. You guys were able to pull that off. And cut the deficit to I believe around 2 to 1 maps. And I think also like round 21, which I believe it was like that whole craziness in one of the sites, and I think Jagamo like got a kill on pistol and also on knife.
Yeah,
This
yeah. I remember that round.
craziness, and like you guys won both of those rounds. What I'm trying to say at though is like when you guys were in these kinds of situations, which you had to win. There was no other option. How did you kind of like view the team's kind of execution in the face of the pressure?
Um, I mean, it's like an FPS game at the end of the day. I feel like our coordination on like those type of rounds were very good, but they just kind of hit some shots or like had a way in that we just kind of didn't punish. So, I mean, their comp isn't very good in terms of util. They only have the Teo missiles and the Yoru flashes are real like um what's the word, like as their ways in, but we gave them ways in. Like they obviously need other ways in, which is just their raw like firepower. And like those most of the rounds were kind of like that, where like they hit a nice shot and it just leads to us kind of being like discombobulated, like Josh said. So they played really well. Like they played with all to give, you know what I mean? It's a land qualifying match, so they have to. And I think that we played well. We always could be better though, and like individually we could always be better too.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like these kinds of rounds ultimately played into the G2 subsequent qualification to Masters Toronto, and I feel like the mindset of the team slash atmosphere was kind of like very evident after the match, in which Valen kind of like broke down a little bit in tears in that post match interview in the broadcast. And like it gave me the sense like you guys had to suffer, really suffer, probably suffered the hardest with this iteration of this G2 squad. Did you feel like this was, without a doubt, the hardest road to an international?
Um, I'd say yeah. I'd say Champs Korea is the second, one last year. But even then, it's like we only had to win one game. Um, but I think this meant a lot to all of us. Like Jake, we've been having close games, and everybody on the team kind of has their own, responsibility on themselves. Whether or not it's from coaching staff or like just self like inflicted responsibility or like self of like like your job. And I think Jake does a great job of taking on that leadership role. And and part of being a good leader is being emotionally invested. Like you can't lead a team and not care at the same time, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that to him, we've been having some rough games. First loss to Sentinels, and then like our close game against 100 Thieves, and then today even our close game against EG. And he puts a lot of pressure on himself, and I think that we all do, but he just plays more like he is more like what's the word, like you can see it on his face, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I think all of us are really happy. All of us are very like tired, and all of us are just looking forward to improving. We still want to win the game against MIBR, obviously for seeding and also for like the Esports World Cup qualification. And so like I just think it meant a lot to us to be able to still like fight and to show that like even if we have bad days, even if we have bad weeks, all eyes are on us. We can still push through and win.
Now, kind of focusing on just sort of the team's form in playoffs, as you kind of been talking about in this recent answer. I mean, a vast contrast to what we've normally been seeing out of you guys on the domestic front, especially on that regular season for stage one, and also like including Masters Bangkok and kickoff. Without a doubt, the toughest stretch that this team has had to go through so far. I mean, what do you feel just has been a factor behind the team's struggles so far in this part of stage one? What do you feel has been the biggest cause? Do you feel like you guys the kind of plateaued in a sense in which like you're trying to compete in the same way that you guys usually compete, but the results are not there?
Um, I'd say like coming out of Thailand and stuff like that, like there's a lot of pressure on us as individuals to keep a high standard. As always, we're a professional team and professional players. But I think that having every single like professional team kind of imitate how we want to play means we have to add more elements to our game that even we may not be comfortable with, and it takes matches and it takes time in order to actually get all of these things sorted out. Like part of the it's really hard to be consistent in this game, especially in a meta like this. You know what I mean? Like we're playing Teo Breach meta, and it's like not really the most like there's a lot of thrifties, there's a lot of stupid round wins, there's a lot of stupid round losses, etc. And it becomes very pressuring, just inside of the game, not even thinking about outside. And everybody has kind of like a grudge against us, which
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean it's malicious. It just means like any team that's playing us, maybe not as much anymore, but just in general, like even in these regular season games, they're like, we want to beat G2. They're the team to beat because of our good Thailand performance, and also the fact that we were 5-0 in the regular season. Like even all of those regular season games, they're very very close. The C9 game, that might be our game. Everybody has a point to prove, which is good because that's kind of how you get like the motivation and like the hunger. But for us, it's like it's trying to find that hunger and trying to work through new stuff and all that, and it's really hard, on top of all of the other stuff that other teams kind of prepare for us.
Do you feel like the overarching emotion that yourself and the rest of the team are experiencing after going through a match like this and qualifying for Masters Toronto? Do you feel like it's like relief, or is there another emotion that kind of like is not really similar to that you can kind of like articulate?
I'd say it's relief, but it's also like knowing that like job's not done kind of thing, where it's like we made it to Toronto, but we don't care about making Toronto. Like we care, but we don't. That's not our end goal. Our end goal is winning the whole thing, even winning this America stage. Like that's like the end goal. So being, we're never going to be complacent. We're never going to be happy until we've won it all. Obviously, we can be happy in the moment, but truly, like part of being a competitor and being one of the best teams in the world is like wanting to keep on winning. You don't want it to give anybody the satisfaction of beating you, basically.
Mhm. No, for sure. And at the very least, you guys have another chance to continue this run against MIBR tomorrow in the lower bracket finals. But of course, it's good to at least enjoy, qualifying for Masters Toronto. So at the very least, you got that out of the way, and now you can kind of now move forward into that. So Leaf, you're yawning. I get you. You want to get out of here, so I'm definitely gonna oblige in that. So Leaf, thank you so much for
Thank
the
you.
quick conversation, for the interview. Congrats on the qualification. Of course, best of luck in the future.
Thank you.